Oh, what's up, guys? What's everyone doing? I was on a live on YouTube and the connection cut out. I believe it was the Wi-Fi. But part of me thinks it was Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, who's like, yank it, as I was about to talk about the trauma of Western medicine. But yeah, so I'm going to continue this video and post it in conjunction with the other video that I got cut off with on YouTube. And like I said at the beginning of that video, I'm going to do more long form stuff, kind of having a more just like fluid conversation versus cutting it up into clips. And and I have like notes, just things that I took down that I want to talk about, but I'm kind of doing it improv style. They're just kind of a starting point, and I don't know what I'm going to say or what tangents I'm going to go down, but I enjoy doing it more this way, and since it's my channel, I'm going to do it my way. And if you enjoy it, you can watch it, and if not, you can do a million other different things with your time. So let's get back into it, shall we? Western medicine trauma. Woo! Light stuff, guys. Light stuff on a Saturday. No, but I want to talk about how Western medicine has traumatized us in the sense and in the same way that the schooling system has traumatized us, in the sense that we get tested constantly and we constantly feel deficient. So going into the school system, starting in friggin' kindergarten, when you're graded on your coloring, whether it's in the lines or not, and your cursive, which you never use, by the way, you're constantly judged. You're given a scale, to get an A+, to get a 96 to 100, and most of us fall short, at least at the beginning, until, some of us, get so attached to getting an A+ that takes over your life. But my point is with this, and the connection with that in Western medicine, is they have you by the moral shame and obligation of getting a high test score when you go into the doctor. So what I mean by that is something like blood pressure, right? You go into the doctor, and the people, the Rockefeller people who set all of these standards, the grading, if you will, of like something like a blood pressure being, I think it's like, because guys, I was obsessed with my blood pressure even when I was like skinny and healthy and had abs, and I would check it incessantly. And the thing about it is, they had me. I was mind controlled to believe if my numbers weren't like 120 or 80 or below or whatever, then something was seriously wrong with me. Something was not good. And for someone like me who has test anxiety when it comes to, going to the doctor's office and doing something like that, because I've had a lot of trauma around Western medicine, you're constantly going to perform negatively, meaning, and they know this, they make it so, at least half the people fail the test, on purpose. Same with cholesterol. A lot of cholesterol stuff is a myth. A lot of infectious disease stuff is a myth. A lot of, anything where you take a big pharmaceutical pill has a natural cause, or has a natural remedy. But the natural remedy you can't make billions and billions of dollars off of, so they have shamed the natural healing world. But my point is with this is, Western medicine makes certain things right and other things wrong. If you have these numbers for your blood pressure, you're good. You're a good person. You're healthy. If you don't, then it's wrong. Then it's bad. Then you need to take our pill. And they have so many people in this illusion of, you need us or you're going to have a heart attack. You're going to die. And a lot of people are walking around with that fear, and that fear is coming up to be looked at through COVID-19, which is the same story, guys. If you don't get the vaccine, then you're going to get the disease and you're going to die. Or you're going to pass it on to your grandma and you're going to be a killer. You're going to murder your grandma. That kind of stuff. Yes. And Western medicine looks at it from a purely symptomatic, oftentimes, perspective and not at the root cause. Every disease has a root cause, has a root emotional cause. And you can say, well, what about eating? If you're constantly eating, I mean, that's a physical symptom. That's not an emotional cause. But I would say someone who is overweight, who eats a lot, is doing the action of eating because of an emotional cause. You don't you don't overeat unless there's something emotional in your life that's not being addressed and you're trying to cover it through weight, through food on your body. So a lot of Western medicine doctors and big pharma, they look at something to cure or to lessen. They look at a symptom to get rid of versus why the symptom is showing up in the first place. Going deeper than the symptom, seeing the root cause of something so we can eradicate and heal the root cause, so the symptom goes away on its own. It's never about the system. It's never about fighting. People want to fight cancer. People want to fight acne. People want to fight whatever comes up in their body, when our bodies are perfectly reflecting to us what we get to look at, what we get to work in harmony with versus to fight and to get rid of. Does that make sense? And then earlier this is in the other video, I was talking about how, a lot of people think that, they're at the level of, if they wear a cotton thing over their mouth, they're not going to get sick or they're not going to pass viruses. When you're at that level of programming and understanding, and you expect yourself to be healthy, it's like eating McDonald's every day and expecting yourself to be healthy. It's a contradictory thought with your action. It's like wanting health, but you're so disconnected to what health actually is what I'm saying. I have gay/woke, so the woke agenda, they are just whoring you out. It's true. What is advantageous for them? So these politicians who use the woke movement, when I'm saying woke, it's like, Black Lives Matter, wearing a mask, giving of yourself for others. It's like pretend caring. They know what they're doing. People and again, Trump does it too, but Joe Biden is like the king of virtue signaling and woke movement. He knows what he's doing. And they whore, in the sense, minorities out, gay people, African Americans, Hispanic people, trans people, who have been through a lot of trauma and wounding, and who are looking to, who have looked to, in the past, politicians for help, and they take advantage of that wounding and say, oh yeah, we'll help you, we love gay people, we love black people, but then, their actions are not in alignment with that care and love that they talk about on the stage, so to speak. And then I have, every time I see a rigorous hand sanitizer user or person with a mask on in their car at a store, I'm like, we've got a lot of work to do. And it's true. And in some senses, like, we have a massive amount of work to do. People are severely programmed right now. But there's so much hope. I'm seeing a lot of people from all ages waking up and being like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any freaking sense. So when we do have a lot of work to do, there's also a lot of hope coming up as well. And then, yeah, there's this idea of like superstition around admitting like someone like me who I'm like, guys, I lived in New York City in March, April, May, June, July. I never wore a mask on the subways. I used the subways, never wore one on the streets, would never cover my nose in grocery shops. Same thing here. I've gotten sick once in the last 3 years where I've had to be in my bed. There's this idea of if you defy what they tell you to do, then superstitiously you're gonna get sick because you're so cocky. We get to let go of that. It's okay to be grounded in your truth that that if you live a healthy life and you're in a higher frequency, that you're not gonna, that you're actually rarely gonna get sick. It's okay to live that kind of life and to have that kind of confidence. And to joke that like the virus just like must not like me because again, I've basically licked the handrails on the New York City subways, and I've been great. And I don't have to knock on wood because I know the power of my own immune system, and it's okay to know that. They've made it, again, superstitious to be like, oh, like if you get too cocky, then part of us believes that like, oh, we're going to get sick if we're too cocky. It's like, we get to let that go. Okay, guys, we get to let that go. We get to let it go. And I talked about this in the earlier video, but again, to accept this as a hoax, to accept coronavirus, YouTube doesn't like you saying that. And I could say, I don't even think they're going to fact check my page because it's so small right now, but like, you know, you can say you believe it's a hoax, and that's technically my freedom of speech. But to believe that this is a hoax, a narrative, a story, not real, you have to accept that so much more is actually a hoax, a story, not real. And a lot of people can't do that right now, which is understandable because a lot of people have been living a lie their entire lives, and it's not necessarily their fault. We've been engineered to have certain perceptions about this world, about this planet, whether it's a globe or a flat earth, whether NASA's, you know, real. We've been programmed and conditioned, especially through television, through mind control, that a lot of things are real when in actuality they are not. Hard pill to swallow. Okay, so I'm going to talk about one of the biggest myths in Western medicine, this idea of showing no symptoms, asymptomatic, as Dr. Fauci likes to say. And the only reason why this has blown up in medicine is because of the control aspect of it. You don't see people afraid necessarily of obese people or people with acne. It's because we've taken on the truth and the perception that acne and obesity is not contagious, or even cancer, but diseases, viruses are. And again, the only reason why this has been prevalent and part of the agenda is because the agenda that is being played out right now is all about control. And what better way to control people and separate them and have them not talk to each other as much than convince them that they're dangerous to each other. It's the same thing with climate change and global warming. And again, if you're like, oh no, that too, like, again, like I was a firm believer that climate change was very real. I'm not saying that the climate doesn't change. What I'm saying is that's another narrative that has that paints human beings as bad. Human caused climate change. You know, be scared of humans. Wear a mask to protect other humans, not necessarily for your health. When you become part of the when you become aware of the agenda, it becomes really easy to spot it and be like, I see what they're doing there. You see, I haven't been on Facebook for I don't know, a couple months, and I recently re-downloaded Facebook and got a new account just to use Marketplace, which I can't use. But anywho, I see now that they have like not only the coronavirus thing on the left side panel of the homepage, but also like a climate center. And it's like, once you know the agenda, guys, like all these little things start making sense. Facebook's in on it, Twitter's in on it, YouTube's in on it, the government's in on it, Big Pharma's in on it, celebrities, a lot of celebrities are in on it. It's all connected. It is all connected. The educational system's in on it. It's a big old club and you're not in it. Is that what George Carlin said? Something like that. Yeah, and like start investigating it and feeling all this out for yourself, because the news isn't gonna remind you at the end of the broadcast to be like, you know, we look into this your own. They never will say that. There's no such thing as being selfless. We chose into this experience of being separate from other human beings, even though we're all one. So as consciousness, we're experiencing life in different human bodies. We have separateness, but this idea of being selfless, of being giving, is actually an illusion. all these people who are wearing masks because they're so giving and such good people and such kind, stand-up citizens. There's a part of them that gets a benefit from doing that. Their ego gets a boost. They feel better about themselves, even though they're saying they're doing it for other people. It's all about them, and that can be applied to many, many different things. Yeah, and like businesses follow the same thing. If everyone stood up and owned their own health and power now, businesses would be like, you don't have to wear a mask. Actually, we don't prefer masks, like that kind of thing. But because the fear is the dominant frequency, the dominant energy, the dominant emotion right now, businesses whose main objective is still money, not health, even though everyone's saying health, 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 health. We care about your health first and foremost. No, they care about money. The grand majority of them do. So until we cut the tie of fear being our dominant energy and our dominant emotion, businesses are just going to follow suit because they still want money. Yeah. And I talk about how someone's relationship, if a couple's wearing a mask and there's a part of them that's still operating under fear, that's operating under enmeshment, especially if they don't want to be wearing a mask, but they're wearing a mask because it's the right thing to do or the good thing to do. There's going to be problems in that relationship because someone who's doing those kinds of actions has not dealt with their enmeshment trauma, meaning they can't own their personal truth without having to take on someone else's truth that violates their own truth. So for example, again, if someone is wearing a mask against their will, say like outside even, but they put one on because, they're taking in everyone else's energy of, you need to do it or you're bad, then, they're gonna, until they look at that, it's gonna keep showing up in their relationships in their life. So I laugh when I see like couples in masks, like holding hands, like, woo, everything's good. Like, not yet. Just wait. We've all been there. Most people are still there. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit to some things that you can do during your day to feel better if you're, there's so much heavy emotion going on in 2020. Something that really helps me is keeping a clean space. And that could be your physical space, but it's also like your phone, your emails, your physical and digital clutter. And some people say like, oh, it's a coping mechanism. If you're constantly cleaning, you're ignoring what you should be doing. And that's one perspective. But what I'm talking about here is the more clear and clean your things are in your life, physical and digital clutter. Think of like a refrigerator. If you have a really dirty refrigerator, you're not going to be able to see everything that's in there. When you clean and scrub your refrigerator and you take stock of your life, whether it's your refrigerator or your life or your belongings, and you take ownership and take stock and see what you have, see what you're working with, everything's organized, that translates into your mental state, and you just move through things so much more efficiently and so much more easily, and man, it's really changed my life, and just things are so much more in flow and super helpful. And so many of us pile up things that that we need to get done in the future as we're doing something else right now, and it's like, take that load off. Take that load off, Henny, We make stress in the present moment by thinking of what we have to do in the future instead of enjoying what we're doing now, completing it, and then moving on to the next thing. We create like a queue, so to speak, in our mind of things we have to do instead of just doing them and enjoying the doing of that thing. Does that make sense? Yeah, Instagram. I'll probably talk about this later more, but just kind of like this self-consciousness of showing up as our authentic selves on Instagram. Um, and if you own a business thinking you need to be on Instagram for that business, that's not true. I mean, it could help, but it's, you know, we have this idea of like, you know, once I get enough followers or enough likes or something, then like my business will take off, or then, you know, then I can be myself once I have the likes, once I have the followers, but it's like, it's inverted. Um, you know, start the business, and then once the business, you feel good about it, then go to Instagram just to share. Instagram is great for sharing. It's not good for trying to fill yourself and trying to get validation, because at the end of the day, you're not going to get what you're looking for, because it's an internal thing and you're looking externally for it, and it's never going to come the way you want it to come. Okay, how you guys doing? Good. I did a longer video on this, but I'll touch on it here. This bullet point is why I quit my office job. And I was working at a talent agency in Los Angeles, and it was a really big deal to me. A lot of people around me may not have really understood it. Maybe some of them thought I was kind of crazy, because when you're in that Hollywood entertainment corporate agency management assistant world, and you know, you want to make the jump to the creative side, there's so much judgment, because a lot of people working in the corporate side of entertainment are secret, you know, shadow artists that actually want to be doing that, but they're too scared to do it, so they get close to what you know, what acting or what singing or what music is, but they're not actually doing it. So when you actually take the courage yourself to jump, a lot of people are like, what do you think you're doing? Like, you know, we rep like the top talent. Like, do you think, you know, who do you think you are, basically? And so in that sense, it was really a big deal for me to make the jump. But, you know, if you're in an office job or you're in any kind of job and you feel stuck, you feel like there's more, you feel like, you know, I just had a moment in that job where, you know, something clicked where I'm just like, I'm going to do so much more with my life than this. Because like, you know, it just, when you're showing up every day and you feel drained, and, you know, you don't even have time to process the day, and, you know, you're working with people that aren't compatible with you, and, you know, you fill the void of that sadness with alcohol and food and stuff, you'll reach a point where, you know, it's no longer worth doing it. You know, it's no longer worth just having a job that's a means to an end. And a lot of us think, you know, a lot of us have so much fear around getting fired or quitting that it takes us a long time or we never do it. But, you know, it was important to me because at the end of the day, I wasn't being authentic with who I was. And as I started to step in slowly into my authenticity, I started to really clearly see that, you know, the job wasn't for me. So, yeah, I might talk more about that later, but that's kind of some main points about that. Oh, I like this point. All you can decide is whether you want to live with your heart open or not. That's it. A lot of people, relationships, you know, events in your life, they're going to trigger you to close that heart chakra. And, you know, we can't control other people. We can't control situations outside of ourselves. But what we can do is every time that we get triggered or hurt, we have the choice to open our heart again. You know, that's all we can do. That's all we can do. A lot of times we want to, like, you know, we're worried about someone else being like, oh, but their heart's closed to us, they're never gonna love me again. It's like, you know, that's on them. That's their work. That's you ultimately get to trust that if your heart's open, that eventually you'll receive the love that you're constantly giving out. You know, and some of us are here to experience attachment, and then getting triggered by someone breaking that attachment, and us realizing that, you know, we may have more than one lover, we may have more than, you know, more than one friend group throughout our lives. There's a temporariness to every relationship. even if it's just, even if death cuts off the the relationship. But there's a beauty in that. If we lived forever in these human bodies, life wouldn't be as fun and precious. It's because things are temporary that there's meaning to them. That's the paradox of life, right? If you were living in the same apartment forever, it would get really boring, because things are temporary and form, and your life is constantly changing. It adds an excitement to life, because what you have is not going to be there forever, whether it's a job, lovers, health things, disease, career stuff, whatever. Humans didn't come born with a mask. God gave us everything we needed. Yes. Yes. And if you're like me, the Eastern medicine boy, flying is very interesting now, because, these companies are saying that they're spraying, sanitizer in the air or whatever. And I'm like, are those essential oils? You know what I'm saying? Like is the disinfectant being used non-toxic? It's these officials are, under the germ theory, Western medicine spell, and a lot of these toxic, wipes and, these bleach and all the cleaning supplies, a lot of those are just as bad for you as, what we're trying to separate ourselves from in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so the energy that runs the world right now, this fear energy, this the frequency of suppression. So many of us grew up more or less as kids that would fully express ourselves and didn't really give a fuck. If you think back, at least I do, I think back to like parties that I have memories of like being a kid and being at like family parties, just like feeling so great. And if you tune into why you felt so great, it's because you didn't give a fuck about what you did or, or what anyone else thought of you, or, and everyone treated you really nicely. You could like walk up to an aunt or to a grandma or to an old person and they'd be like, oh, like little Nikki. And like, and you could just stare at them and like not say anything and walk away and get a cookie, because we didn't give a fuck. There was no consequences when you were younger. You were, what I'm getting with this is, where I'm going with this is, you were fully expressing who you were unapologetic with your expression. Unapologetic with your expression. But now we live in this culture, I call it like the Kardashian culture, where we tone down our emotions, and a lot of the times it's our happiness, it's our flamboyancy, our cheerfulness, and we take on this Kardashian like, hi, I'm Kim. And not to knock them, because sometimes, we are low energy like that, but what I'm saying is, people like the Kardashians have been hoisted up as an example in our society, because the people who control the world right now want you to be emotionless. They want you to be passive. They want you to not be connected to your emotions, unless you cry like the Kardashians when like you're in victim mode. Then they want that. But aside from that, they want you to be pretty numb, and pretty comparatively to anyone else, the Kardashians are pretty numb on TV at least. So it's something to think about in terms of, again, why do they want you to be numb? They want you to be numb because, not the Kardashians per se, but the people who control the world, because when you're more numb, you're controllable. When you're more numb, you don't take responsibility for your own life. When you're more numb, you eat like shit and drink and like out of control and don't take care of your life, and you're reliant on the government in some way, or big pharmaceutical companies, or the education system, or you don't think for yourself when you're numb. You mindlessly watch the news and the Kardashians and watch Netflix and get Domino's and all things I've done before, and jack off 9 million times a day, and you know, you live this very just emotionless life, and you end up not dealing with anything. And the beautiful thing about taking responsibility for your life is when you start dealing with these things, when you start feeling emotions, you can resolve these things in your life so you don't keep attracting, shite in your life. And when you start allowing yourself to feel the bad emotions, you eventually open your capacity up to feel. So you not only feel the bad emotions, but you feel the good emotions. And every, life, whether you're feeling good or bad or fear or happiness or bliss or anxiety, it's heightened, but you don't mind it so much no matter what the emotion is, because you're alive during it. Like when I feel fear now, when I feel anxiety, I'm aware of it, and I almost like jump into it. When I'm feeling sadness, like I go into it, because it's like, damn, like I'm a human being experiencing sadness and like, crying the fuck out of this day. It's exciting, and it's an exhilarating thing. I'd rather be super sad and feel it than be numb my whole life. You know what I'm saying? That was a good one. They want you to numb out. And I'm going to end this with, just because it's familiar does not mean it's right. Yeah, I was the only one, guys, when I flew here from New York City to Salt Lake City, Utah, on the plane that initially didn't comply to put a mask on. I was kind of baffled, but, they normalized that. But I think it's batshit crazy. But and then they had me talk to a Delta Airlines doctor and try to explain why I was exempt from wearing a mask. And it got to a point where I gave in, at least paid eye service to wearing one until I got on the plane. And then and there was a kid when I put it below my nose to breathe through my nose to practice nose breathing. There was a kid next, like on the other side of the aisle, who's like, "Mommy, that kid's not wearing his mask over his nose." I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a long flight. But eventually the guy next to me was really cool, and we talked about our perceptions on what was going on in the world, and yeah, it ended up being okay. But my point is, with all this, whether it's wearing a mask on a plane, whether it's eating McDonald's every week or every day, these things are normal, right? The golden arches, get a Coke, get a pop, get a soda, like, that's become normal in our society. And just because things have been normalized does not mean they're natural, does not mean they're good for you, does not mean that you should keep doing them. And the more you can suss things out and think, use your own mind, your own feelings, your own intuition to make your own choices in this 2020 now moment and in this decade coming up, the better you and your family and your friends will be. Because again, I've talked about this in a lot of videos, but we've been treated like shit. The education system, big pharma, the government, a lot of the top sinister philanthropic organizations, who have said that they have our best interests at heart, for the past hundreds of years, actually don't. So the silver lining with all this kind of coming to the surface now, and the Wizard of Oz stepping outside of the curtain to kind of reveal himself, so to speak. The good news in that is us being able to see the insanity building and building and building, and things getting more and more insane, so that we can actually become aware that this has been happening all along, and so we can take our power back, and so we can live lives that are more calm and more in alignment and feel good and harmonious and connected and healthy and easy and loving and just successful and fun. We didn't come here to suffer and just pay bills and get sick and die. We didn't. People forget that. People get into the matrix of, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do that. But it's like, and again, when you're in it, I get it. When you're in it, you don't think there's a way out. But the more you take a breath and the more you're just like, wait a minute, I came here, I'm a soul in the human body, I came here to play, I came here to experience myself, and I came here to raise the consciousness, or to make humanity more, to play in more love versus more fear. When we remember that, when we remember life gets to be fun, and it's not so friggin' serious, we'll have more fun, and we'll live better lives. So thank you guys. I'm gonna post this. This is on YouTube, and I'm gonna probably cut this up into clips on Instagram. Maybe post the whole freaking thing. I don't know. But if you'd enjoyed this this fireside chat, give it a like, a subscribe, and I'll put a link to a donation, my PayPal, in the description of this video. If you feel called to donate something, I'd really appreciate that. And yeah, guys, I will talk to you soon. I'll probably do a live like this, or a longer extended video like this every week, aiming for like an hour or maybe 2 30-minute segments. And yeah, I enjoy doing it. I'm gonna make a lot of changes. Right now it's just kind of like me giving you information. I want to eventually, my voice, do more like content and pieces and sketches with this information. But right now I just want to get this out to people, because a lot of people are waking up fast, and a lot of people don't know this information. A lot of people, even like me 6 months ago, like I didn't freaking know, about the underbelly of like entertainment, like the real underbelly of entertainment, and like, the deep state and all this stuff. But it makes me feel good to share this stuff, is what I'm saying. I'm not doing it for the money, that's for goddamn sure, but I enjoy doing it. So hope this made you feel good in some way, or you feel more connected or less alone in this crazy world right now. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye.